Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I have three players to bring to you today, not two. I did homework on a couple guys, and then there was a guy that popped up in my feed that I had been interested in anyway, and I saw some highlights from him as well. So we're gonna talk about all three of them. And we'll start with the one that's most recent. William. Is it Kyle William the third? Kyle William the third. Bellevue, Nebraska. That's an E. Bellevue, Nebraska. 6'9", 230 senior. Played for the Syracuse Orangemen. Let's see. Averaged 8 points a game, 7 rebounds, 0.9 assists, 66 field goals percentage, and averaged 2 point something blocks. I don't see it on here, but we're gonna know in a minute. 2.5 blocks a game, 1.0 steals, only 1 turnover in his senior season. His first 2 years he was with San Diego State, or is that South Dakota State? South Dakota State, rather. Played 32 games, but didn't have a whole lot of minutes. 24 minutes in his first year, 27 minutes second year. Improved his scoring pretty much. His second year, he was able to showcase himself for 13 points, 1 block, 1 assist, 6 boards, 58 shooting from the free throw. So he's not a great free throw shooter. That would be the concern. And he doesn't attempt any threes. Didn't attempt any threes at all in college, period. All 4 years, no threes attempted. But he does have a really good field goal percentage. His freshman season, 54%. Sophomore season, 62%. At UCLA, he had 70% field goals, but I think it was very limited games. He didn't play very much, only 9 minutes a game, but he shot 70% from the field, dunking every damn thing. And then when he got to Syracuse, he got it back up to 28 minutes a game, shooting 66% from the field. So, and played his career high 32 basketball games for Syracuse. So this is a guy who probably picked the wrong school to go to. UCLA, man, I love UCLA. I was born at UCLA Medical. But this is the second player I've seen that went to UCLA this past, in this draft class and wasn't showcased properly. So I don't know what's going on over there, but they need to get their act together because people are leaving there and getting better. Coming there, doing really good, getting there, not doing well, and then leaving there and getting back to playing well. That's the story with William Kyle. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Ademar was the other guy. Had a really poor season at UCLA. Went off to Michigan. Is probably a top 15 player in this draft. Probably top 10 actually. So let's get into William Kyle. Why is William Kyle somebody that I'm excited about? Because William Kyle at 6'9" has a 44-inch vertical. He is the second highest leaper in this entire draft. And that there's someone who jumps even higher than him is absurd. Really is absurd. But William Kyle is 6'9" with 7-something wingspan. So this is an elite shot blocker, a lob catcher, somebody who can switch, defend very well. He ran track as a kid. Specialized in the high jump as a young kid. So basketball was something that he picked up later on in life, but was always a phenomenal athlete. So he moves laterally well. He runs the floor, sprints it as well as any 6'9" player you're going to find. He's 230 pounds and continuing to work on his conditioning. He was raised an athlete, so he's always going to work on his conditioning. And his explosiveness is just unlike anything that you're going to see because of how tall he is. And because of how well his timing is on blocks and stuff like that, he gets blocks like some players get layups. I don't doubt that he needed to be showcased better in college. Because when you talk about what makes people excited about guys like Jaden Quaintance and several other guys in this league, in this draft class, Kyle Williams has some of the same stuff that a Quaintance has. Now, Quaintance is a bigger player, but I mean, this is somebody that I think should be considered an elite defender in his class. Now, he is 230, So when you have him trying to guard centers and stuff like that, you saw him struggle a little bit against some of those guys. But because he played at UCLA, he was able to play against Mara a lot. He talked about that in an interview that I watched, where, you know, going up against Mara and going up against some of those guys at UCLA really helped him, man. And so I think that in Syracuse, he was able to put it all together and get really showcased. But even there, he said that some of the stuff was a bit limited for him. He was more so showcased best at San Diego State. But it's hard to get NBA scouts to look at you at not San Diego, South Dakota, excuse me. It's hard to get scouts to look at you in a small school, so he had to go to bigger school. The school that he went to didn't showcase him at all. So you get the point. But the NBA is excited about this guy. William Kyle has some of the best NBA teams essentially interested in him, and that's why his name has gone viral this morning, because you hear the Lakers are highly interested, the Knicks, the Celtics, the Thunder, and the Spurs are the teams that have been mentioned to have worked him out and all want him on their team. So you're talking about a guy who's expected to go undrafted, who in the last week of the draft is suddenly start to shoot up draft boards. And it's because he's just a really best kept secret. You know, I've been seeing his name because I pay attention to these, lists of players. I'm often on ESPN Analytics. So I've seen his name a bunch of times, and I was going to get to it if I could. I know there are going to be some players I won't get to cover before the draft, and I will stop this process right before the draft. I'm not going to keep doing this forever. But, you know, I wanted to get as many players in the undrafted market and the draft market as possible, so that we could just have a handful of players we know who they are and what they could do. William Kyle was definitely on the list. And I even mentioned him in a video that I made a couple days ago as somebody I wanted to do homework on, but I had no idea he was some like extraordinarily gifted athlete. I didn't know that this dude could fly like some of the best players in the league can fly. And so for me, I think all of these teams that are interested in him are barking up the right tree. He had 11 workouts scheduled. After 5 workouts, he canceled the others. So he's going somewhere. And with the teams that are interested in him, it's a good chance he's going to go to one of those teams. But it's even better chance that one of the teams that didn't mention him are going to decide they want him because all these other teams want him. So I think it's going to be hard for anybody to really lock him down in this draft. If you expect him to go undrafted, you're a damn fool. That's what I would say to any of these teams. If you're expecting him to go undrafted, at this point, you're not paying attention to what I seen this morning, because his name's going viral. And people are talking about him on the YouTube space, and rightfully so. And I'm ashamed of, and I've said this a couple times throughout the course of this, I'm ashamed of some of these so-called draft experts who do all this draft. Oh, we know who is this. Oh, look at our list of players. Y'all ain't talk about Kyle William the third. Y'all haven't mentioned this guy. I haven't seen any talking about him. Y'all paying attention to all these other guys. And then I look at what this guy can do, and I think about what the NBA needs, and I'm like, yo, this guy is somebody the NBA is going to salivate over. Had I known about this dude a month ago, had his name been floating around like some of these other guys, he would have been more exciting to me personally as a fan than any of them dudes that we talking about in the second round. To me, with all due respect to a lot of players I like, he's the most exciting player in the second round. Because how he gets off the floor, fam. Nobody dunks like this and has defensive ability like this, other than one more player in this draft who happens to also be in the second round. Homeboy from the UK that I'm gonna figure out what his name is in a minute, but that's the point. Like, they're not showcasing people they need to be showcasing, bro. They got all these 6'4" guards that can really, really shoot, and that's really, really nice, but they're gonna be really, really gone. People like Kyle Williams are the people that are gonna be around because teams need what they do. Rim protection, rebounding, high fly acts, put butts in seats. People that can catch lobs from superstars who give them lobs like Luka and guys like that need to be talked about significantly more than some of the guys that a lot of these draft experts are excited about. Because at the end of the day, size, length, tools, and athleticism are things that sell the NBA. So if you're scouting for the NBA, you need to put a much more emphasis on this stuff. Period. So I just think that I think that there's a disconnect between the draft sphere and the goals of the NBA and what the NBA is truly looking for versus what they're not. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of guys that are low to the ground, about my height or a little taller, have no athleticism whatsoever, but can really, really shoot. And people are running their names through every direction. And I'm like, these dudes, I'm telling y'all, man, that prototype ain't nothing on a guy like Kyle Williams III. It's not even comparable. And so you wonder why guys end up going undrafted and becoming stars and stuff like that. It's because the scouts are looking for the wrong stuff, searching in places. Instead of finding guys that may be somewhere in South Dakota that can literally fly like a bird. I find myself very frustrated as somebody who's trying to scout these players that it's 6 days before the draft and it's the first time I'm hearing about Kyle Williams III. This is ridiculous. Y'all should have been on top of this dude months and months ago. He should have been one of the most talked about players in college basketball last year. This is freaking ridiculous. So that's what I have to say about that, man. I'm super excited about Kyle Williams, to say the least. I want him on my team. I think the Lakers are on the right track trying to scout a guy like this, so are the other teams that are excited about him. The rim protection, the ability to read the floor well, his work ethic, the defensive prowess, it's all there. He's going to have to work on stretching the floor. He is. But even if he can't stretch the floor, his athleticism and his defensive ability is going to carry him. It's not the end of the world for a guy like this to not be able to shoot. Other players who can't do the things that he can do, yeah, you better be able to shoot. But guys like this is where you make the exception. He don't have to be able to shoot. He can jump higher than everybody else. He's going to swat stuff. He don't need to be able to shoot that much. He don't. You will live with the floor spacing issues he provides because he's going to do things that are going to make people very, very happy to pay for damn tickets. Now, you want to charge $10,000 for Knicks tickets, you better have a Kyle Williams on your damn team. That's the real thing I want to say there. So, yeah, this is my favorite player in the second round. Everybody else is cool, but this is a guy like, yo, man, if he ain't off the board, y'all doing it wrong. And don't tell me, oh, he's older, and oh, he's the kid shoot. I don't care. I literally don't care. When it comes to a player like this, I don't care. Put him on the damn team. So that's what I have to say. I want him to be on the Lakers. I don't know that, in respect to value and perceived draft stock, which really does need to be reimagined considering what it is we just been talking about for the last 6 minutes. I don't necessarily take him at 25, even though I feel like I'll be happy I did. I still have to respect that other people think other players are worth more. So if I want to respect the value of what it is I have, I likely either trade down or get a second round pick for William Kyle, because that's just what it is. But if he were receiving the hype that he deserves, this would be a first round talent. Period. He would be a first round talent. Take my word for it. He would be a first round talent. So, however it works, hopefully the Lakers can find a way to put him on our squad and make sure he doesn't go to one of those other big market super championship teams that all want him, because he's perfect for our situation and we have the best player to showcase his talents. We really do. Luka Doncic is the best player to showcase Kyle Williams' talent in the entire league. Period. So make him a Laker. Do it, and do it now. Next up, talk about one of these little guys, man. I enjoyed watching highlights of this player this morning. Nick Boyd, 6'2", 176, 25 years of age, so he's a bit on the old side, but he can really finish, man. He drives at the rim as well as any little guy you'll see. He's quick, he's fast, and he's exciting to watch. Period. Out of Wisconsin, 176 pounds, as I mentioned, out of Garnerville, New York. I wonder if this dude is related to one of my good friends, James Boyd, Esquire. Kind of look like him a little bit, and they, Boyd last name. I wonder if this is one of his cousins or somebody like that. Cause, yeah, I haven't talked to my boy. We call him Phil. I ain't talked to Phil in a long time, but if he told me this was his nephew or something like that, I wouldn't be surprised, because they kind of have the same stuff going on with the family stuff. He looks like he's one of the Boyds. Yeah, he 36 vert. He did involve himself in the combine. 36-inch vert, 10.78 lane drill, which is above average. 3.06 shuttle drill, which is average. 6.07 sprint. So this guy's pretty fast, man. He's really shifty, very fast, and flies at the rim. You know, I've compared a lot of people to Tony Parker. And Tony Parker's a Hall of Famer, NBA champion many times over. Damn near scored at the rim like a center. I mean, so you can't really compare many people to Tony Parker when you really know what you're talking about. But as it pertains to what he looked like to me, driving at the rim, being efficient around the rim, teardrops, layups, and stuff like that, without dunking the ball very much at all, he didn't seem to miss very much around the rim. And that's kind of who he reminded me of, Tony P. Doesn't have the mid-range of the three-point game, I don't believe. Although he did shoot pretty well from three, a lot better than I thought. But this is a guy is a prolific scorer who made a lot of people dance on the defensive end. He averaged per 36 minutes 23 points and only 1.9 turnovers. He did not block any shots. 4.8 assists, so he can get the ball pushed around a little bit. I didn't see as much of that in the highlights as I would have liked to, but you know, when he did make passes, they were efficient. 4.3 rebounds, which is fair for his height and his position. 83% from the free throw line. That is excellent. 36% from three. That is good. Especially if the volume's there. According to the advanced stats we'll get to, the volume's not quite there. But shooting 36%, you can expect that he can stretch the floor enough to make people honest. 40.480 field goal percentage, which means he finishes well at the rim. For a 6'2 guy who plays under the rim, damn near 50% from the field is good. The eye test told me he finishes well. The numbers tell me he finishes well. Advanced stats, true shooting percentage, .588. Effective field goal percentage, .538. Three-point attempt rate, .318. So we want him to shoot a little more there. Free throw attempt rate, .370. All of that is average. I mean, all of that is on par with what you want it to be. His NBA three-point percentage is .370. So, you know, he can hit the long ball in the three in the NBA. His usage percentage, 30.6. Very solid. I mean, that's above average. So you like that they were able to run plays through him as a guard. He really set the offense up well. His assist usage wasn't great. So he didn't pass as much as maybe you would ask him to, 0.94. But, you know, averaging 4 assists a game. Like I said, he's a scorer. He's looking to look at the rim. He's looking to get there and lay the ball up repeatedly. But he does make plays for others here and there. His assist-to-turnover ratio is very good, 2.53 there. Further advanced stats, PER 24.8. Offensive win shares per 40, .158, which is good. Defensive win shares per 40, .036, which is below average. Win shares per 40, .193. His offensive rating was 125.3, which is good. His defensive rating is 112.9, which is bad. His offensive box plus minus 7.6 is good. Defensive box plus minus 1.9, which is average, and the overall box plus minus 9.5, which is average. So, of course, his draft age is going to be the number one thing that people are looking at. This man's 25 years old. So, you know, you don't expect there to be really any upside. But I think he could be a very, very dangerous player when you consider how elusive he is as a small guard. You know, as I said, he seemed to be very effective with teardrops as well as getting to the rim. Although he did not dunk much, he made sure that he finished repeatedly, and he's so fast that he's going to be difficult to deal with. So the wingspan and all of that stuff, I don't think I got to that. 8.0 hand length, which is a little small. 8.25 hand width, which is a little small. 8.0 reach, which is a little small. And 6'2.5 wingspan, which is a little small. So he's undersized, small guard. That's what you're going to see there. It's not going to surprise anybody. But he's very well conditioned. He's extremely fast, and he finishes very well from pretty much wherever you need him to shoot. And when he gets to the line, he doesn't miss very much. So this is a very efficient offensive guy. Obviously, he's going to be targeted on the defensive end. They're going to try to play him off the floor, etc. So there's a limitation to what you would expect he'd be able to accomplish in the NBA. But if you need a guy who's going to put a lot of pressure on the rim and make people dance and be able to be shifty enough to to make the defense react to him, which should leave others open. This is somebody that I expect should be able to do that. And he wasn't bad stealing the ball, too. You know, he really did have games where he stole the ball multiple times. And, you know, I think that he takes care of the basketball as well, which is really, really helpful. And so this is a player that I like a lot. I think that his upside in the NBA may be capped off in a couple key areas. But you throw him on a basketball floor, and he's going to do work. He's going to do work. I don't have any concerns as it pertains to whether or not he can play at this level. The question is, will they not try to push him around and kind of play him off the floor? Guys like this tend to struggle in the NBA off of the strength of their size. But all things truly considered, I really enjoyed watching Nick Boyd, man. I think his highlights were damn dope. I think he's a nice player. And, you know, I think, you know, putting on some weight could help a little bit. At 176, it could be a little tough for him. But, you know, like I said, he's a well-conditioned athlete. This is not somebody you have to ask to get in the gym or ask to get in shape or whatever. This is somebody who has that already down packed and has good habits already worked into the equation as a grown man. So, yeah, man, Nick Boyd, you know, I just, do I think it works in the NBA? Probably not. I think you kind of get lost when you're this guy because there's so many guards in this league, you know, and small guards are coming plentiful in this draft, especially in the second round. So it's kind of hard to stand out. But one thing I can say about Nick Boyd is he was very, very efficient, man. When it really came down to it, he takes care of the basketball. He doesn't really turn it over is what I'm saying. He drives at the rim. He gets points off quickly. And, you know, he just seemed like a very sound basketball player, and the speed was extremely impressive. The shiftiness and the ability to move left to right was extremely impressive with the basketball in his hands. So that's what I will say, man. I you know, it's tough, but I think he's barking up the right tree trying to be a pro in the NBA. Give it a shot. See if you can stand out. Though some guys have your body type that haven't been able to make it in the league, there's also been some dudes who have. It just depends on what situation you get into and how well you handle the short spurts of minutes that you get. You know, I tell a guy like Nick Boyd, just like I've said many times on this channel in regards to different Lakers that have played for our team, how well do you handle the 3 minutes that they give you at the end of a basketball game? Because if you can be a connective piece in those minutes, you'll earn more minutes. So it's all about when they give you opportunities, how well did you mesh in with the players that you're on the floor with? How many mistakes did you make? How well did you handle what was coming at you? And just how patient were you with the basketball? Because the guys, where they usually go wrong is they come in and they try to do too much. They try to come in and get their own shot, and they forget that you have to be a part of winning basketball. The best thing you can do in limited minutes is to be the best plus-minus player you can be. Make the right pass, play sound defense, don't foul, take good shots, don't be afraid to pass up shots for good passes to others. Those are the things that'll make coaches say, okay, he looked good on the floor in the minutes I gave him, let me give him more. And in the minutes where they give you more, that's when you showcase what you can actually do from a strength standpoint. But the most important thing to do in limited minutes is to just don't suck. Literally. Be as unselfish as possible and don't suck. Because when they look at those 3 minutes, they're going to look at every possession. And if you look like you were trying to hurry to get your shot, if you look like you were trying to hurry to do something for yourself, they're going to consider that you sucking, and you're not going to get any more minutes. You're going to be out of the league quick. So how well do you handle the 2 minutes at the end of the game? Do you rush to get your own thing going, or do you be a good plus-minus player and don't make no mistakes? That's how you earn more minutes. Getting those minutes will then allow you to show what you can really do. So that's what I tell every player who's in this situation. It's just what you do with the little minutes that you get. So that's what the story is. He's going to get it out the mud for sure. With his size and his height, you know, with other players being on demand, guys like William Kyle popping up left and right, a guy like Nick Boyd is likely going to be undrafted, but he will get an opportunity to play in the Summer League, I believe. How well does he does in those situations will determine whether he gets called up, stuff like that. This is what it's going to be for guys of his ilk. But I don't think Nick Boyd is going to have trouble with that. He's an older guy, fast guy, seemed to have a good head on his shoulders, and he can play at this level. So that's what I have to say. I was really fond of what I saw from Nick Boyd. All right, last up, Kylan Boswell, kind of in that same vein, but a much heavier guy. 6'2", 226 pounds. Much younger guy, 21 years of age, also a senior. And, I watched the highlights on Boswell. He out of Champaign, Illinois. Went to Illinois, as I mentioned. And I was more impressed with his tape than what was said about him in the breakdown videos afterwards. That's what I will say. People who were talking about him didn't seem to share as much upside optimism as I felt looking at Kylan Boswell. Kylan Boswell is a guy with a very strong lower body. That's where all the weight is, in his backside. And he doesn't necessarily get off the ground, though, which is a little frustrating for a guy that's 6'2". He's not particularly jumpy. He does have a 38-inch vertical, though, so you would think that it would translate to him dunking the ball a little more, stuff like that. But he's not much of a dunk guy because the wingspan and all that stuff is a little low. So it doesn't translate. Like, he has a 38-inch vert, but shorter arms. So what does it equate to in the grand scheme of things? But his lane drill with 10.82, which is solid. Shuttle run is where he really did pretty well, 2.92. And his sprint was 3.22. So he's not overly speedy, but he handled the shuttle drill well, which is really important, moving laterally and backing up and all that type of stuff. Hand length 8.0, a little under what you would expect. Hand width 8.5, a little under what you would expect. Standing reach 7'11", which is a little under what they would expect from a 6'2" guy. And his wingspan was 6'7", which is average for a 6'2" guy. So the measurements were not super encouraging, but it's about average. I mean, what you going to do? Per 36 minutes, he averaged 14 points, 1.3 turnovers, which is really the standout. He takes care of the basketball, which is really good. 0.9 steals, not above average. Didn't block a shot, not at that size. You don't expect it. 3.6 assists, which I think could be exploited significantly more in different spaces. I think that's what stood out for me was his passing. He didn't pass very much according to this thing, but the passes he made were damn impressive. And the majority of the tape, for me, what stood out was his passing. So take that for what it's worth. It's considered a weakness on Tankathon, but the eye test tells me this is somebody who's going to make others better. This is somebody who can be asked to be more of a traditional pass-first point guard. And if he leans into that, I think that'll be his ticket to the bigger levels of basketball. 4.8 rebounds, which is fair. 78% from the free throw line, which is pretty good. 30% from three. That's the issue. That's the ticket right there. You got a little guy like this, you got to be able to really shoot from behind the arc. And even though he shot a lot of attempts from behind the arc, he didn't make a lot. .307 is his three-point percentage. That's below average. It's not horrific, but it's a real concern for small guards. You got to be able to shoot. .444 field goal percentage, which is fair. And so it's either, it's one of those situations where the only thing that really stood out as a big strong point for him in this per 36 thing is his turnover. Only 1.3 turnovers. That's excellent. So his assist to turnover ratio is 2.73. That's where he's really strong. Assist usage, though, 0.87, wasn't asked to assist enough. So I would say that what probably went, I ain't gonna say went wrong, but what probably hurt him a little bit was the fact that Keaton Wagler was on the team and Keaton Wagler handled the basketball. So he needs a basketball in his hands to be an orchestrator. Can't really necessarily be that if you got Keaton Wagler, who's one of the most high usage players in this entire draft, with the ball in his hands. So I really do think that context has to do with a lot of what we're seeing here as it pertains to Kylan Boswell this past year. Usage percentage 20.4. See, Wagler was eating up all the usage. Nobody else had the ball in their hands but him. 3-point percentage 0.352. So he doesn't project to shoot the three very well in the NBA. 35%. It's fair, but not for the volume that he's expected to take on. Free throw attempt rate 0.415 average. 3-point attempt rate 0.415, just the same. And that's average. So he's, like I said, he's taking a lot of threes for the lower percentage that he shoots. That's really the way I want to word that. Effective field goal percentage 0.507 is fair, and true shooting percentage 0.559, which is all average. All of that is average. Advanced stats PER 17.9, just below average. Offensive win shares 0.124. Defensive win shares per 40 0.053, and win shares per 40 0.173. All of that is average. Offensive rating though 129.8. That is one of the stronger things that you'll see. Other than turnovers, his offensive rating is really good. Really good. 129.8. Good things happen while he was on the floor offensively. Defensively 109.0. That is below average, but not too much. And offensive box plus minus 3.9, just below average. Defensive box plus minus 3.1, which is average, and box plus minus 7.0, which is average. So, the stats tell you he's a pretty average player. Let's just be real. His assist to turnover ratio is really good. He takes care of the basketball. Great things happen while he's on the floor. But, as it pertains to what he's doing individually, it's pretty average. Just pretty average. A little below average in some areas. Not an overly effective basketball player based on the stats, but the eye test tells you that this is somebody who's gifted at passing the ball. This is somebody who can really make nice passes. And if he leans into that more, take some of the possessions where he's shooting threes and turn them into possessions where he's making plays, you'll see his overall thing increase. I think that's what it really comes down to. Shot selection for this guy is something that to really monitor. You just don't want to throw possessions away when you have the ability to make them connect. That's really what it comes down to. He's a smaller guy. He's not like our previous prospect, Boyd, who's going to fly at the rim and constantly connect that way. That's not his strength. So you would want him to stretch the floor in possessions. But if he's going to miss the shots where he's stretching the floor, then let's lean into something that works a little more for him. And that, to my eye test, is passing. Pass. Hockey assist, direct assist, make plays for others. Do that more. Shoot threes less. Turn your possessions into quality possessions more often. And that's your ticket to the NBA, Colin Boswell. Because he's a big body dude who can play some defense. The eye test tells me that he's going to be able to body up with people at 226, only 6'1". This is a big person. You know what I mean? So you got to deal with him. You got to push him around. He's going to push you around. And so there's some physicality possibilities there based on his frame. So, that's really what it is. Colin Boswell's just got to lean into what works for him. And so there was something said that I think is worthy to say. He was said to have had some off-the-court things that were there to consider. He might be someone who likes to enjoy his life a little bit more than maybe you would want him to as a professional. I don't know if he's growing out of that. I listened to an interview he had, and he was essentially saying he's working on himself as a person. So hopefully some of the things that people were concerned about is behind him, and he's ready to put forth all of his focus into being the best basketball player he can be at a professional level. I didn't really understand the details. They didn't really get into the details. I didn't dig. But from what I understand, there may be a little something there that also might contribute to his 226 weight. So maybe conditioning could help him if he, kind of focus on his conditioning a bit more. I kind of like the idea of being 226, especially at 6'2". I just think that extra size can potentially help him in the NBA. But if it's going to be excess fat weight and not muscle weight, then he should shed that. He should shed it and shred himself a little bit. So that would be my suggestion to Kylan. I think that conditioning-wise, if he gets his life into a different space conditioning-wise, all of this stuff will be a lot better, too, in the numbers. I really believe that. Maybe the shot will even come around if he can, take his conditioning to a different level. So those will be the areas of focus. Lean into your strengths, passing the rock, and reinvent your body. Reinvent your body, man. Change your diet. Double up on your workout regimen. Hire a strength trainer and somebody who can shred you. Because that's what the story's going to be for a guy like Colin Boswell. If he can turn himself into that type of guy, do what Derek Fisher did with his body, then suddenly Colin Boswell is a much better basketball player, I think. That's really what it is. Strength, conditioning, and just overall quality possession stuff. Shooting too many threes when you don't shoot very well, it's not a recipe for success. And given the fact that he has such a high offensive rating, how much better would his offensive rating be if he cuts down on the shooting and leans into the passing? And of course, everything I said about Boyd with the limited minutes in basketball is definitely going to apply to him even more so. I think even though he's rated as a higher prospect than Boyd, I think his road is going to be much tougher because he has more questions. Now, he has the weight on Boyd, and I think people are going to see that as a plus. That's where they're separated a bit. He's like 20 pounds heavier than Boyd, basically. But the reality is I think they're kind of both in the same boat. Ironically enough, they got into it in college. Those two ended up butting heads in a game they played against one another. I thought that was kind of funny in a way, given the fact that I'm doing this homework on both of them at the same time. But yeah, when you look up Colin Boswell and Boyd, they know one another. And they weren't exactly friends. So, that's really what I have to say. Two smaller guards, you know what I'm saying? I think, if I'm being real, I don't think either one of them are the greatest bet to be drafted, especially with some of the names that are starting to creep up last minute. And given the fact that this is a second round that was exciting at the beginning of it, and then everybody pulled out of it, and now the second round is considered not so good, people are looking further, deeper into the undrafted market for stuff that they can be excited about, and they're finding stuff. I'm telling you, I'm finding stuff. So it's going to be kind of tough for some of these guys that people aren't so excited about, who expect to be drafted, to actually get drafted. Because when you dig a little deeper behind them, you start finding forwards and lengthy people and exciting players and stuff like that. It's like, yo, why are we focused on some of these guys and not some of those other ones? I think that's the story. So I think that, like I said, Boswell and Boyd are two players that I do not expect to be drafted, but I do expect to be in the summer league with a team getting a call-up. I do expect that. They could be drafted. But, you know, I just think that when I think about the top 60 players in this draft, for me, I tend to look into a little more size, a little more tools, and I kind of leave some of the smaller guards on the outside looking in. But not everybody thinks like me, and so hopefully for their sake, others are going to be willing to use draft picks on them. But that's just my preference on thing, and I think that's a sense that maybe will be also what others are thinking. So that's what I have to say, man. Try to do my best in covering these guys. You know, I really struggled with those two particularly because I just don't know if it's not more worth my time to look at some of these 6'9", 6'7" forwards. But since these two guys were in the range to be drafted on Tankathon, we officially completed all of their 60 available players by covering those two smaller guards. I just think that it was worth for me to bring their names up just in case they do get drafted, since they've been getting the attention that they have. But realistically, for me, there are some guys who are expected to be behind them that should be drafted ahead of them. So it is what it is. Kyle William III most definitely being one of them. So that's really what I have to say, man. 3 players today. I appreciate everybody for allowing me to do this. My name is BDO44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.